It's time to take a look at what's grabbing headlines here in France. Joining us in the studio is Florence Villeminot. Let's start with a word on politics. Papers are focusing on new President Emmanuel Macron and the first cabinet meeting, which was held yesterday.
Papers are likening it to a first day at school with, of course, the first class photo, which is all over the press. It's on the front page of Le Figaro today. You can see Le Figaro likening Macron to a strict headmaster. Macron is imposing his strict rules on his ministers. Now, what are these rules? Well, solidarity, confidentiality, and collegiality, essentially making decisions together. Now, according to Le Figaro and several other papers, Macron is really eager to make a clean break with his predecessors, particularly the previous president, François Hollande. And so he actually broke with tradition. Usually the first photo of the first cabinet meeting is taken outside of the Élysée Palace. But you can see here, it was taken inside the Élysée Palace, so a symbol of change here.
Well, this looks like a picture of perfection here. President Macron has called for unity amongst his ministers, but some papers are expecting the sparks to start to fly.
And they could fly really soon. If you take a look at the front page of Libération, you can see another version of that class photo. Clash en stock à l'Élysée. Get ready for some clashes at the Élysée Palace. And Libération points out that, this is normal. Emmanuel Macron and his Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, have put together a government of ministers from across the political spectrum. So as you can imagine, they don't agree on everything. For instance, the Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, and the new Environment Minister, Nicolas Hulot, they don't see eye to eye on a very thorny issue, and that's nuclear energy here in France. So according to Libération, il va y avoir du sport. It's going to get quite, the gloves are going to come off. There's going to be some action. Hulot is very much anti-nuclear. Back in the day, Philippe was a lobbyist for the nuclear giant Areva. These are just one of the issues that this government, this very diverse government, could clash on.
Well, staying with the new president flow, Emmanuel Macron has come under fire from many media organizations for wanting to choose the journalists that accompany him when he travels both within France and abroad.
And indeed, many news organizations says this was a very disturbing signal being sent from the Élysée Palace. Several papers, including Le Monde, have written an open letter to the president. You can see it here to voice their concern. You can see how it starts. Dear Mr. President, it's not up to the Élysée to choose journalists. Look, it's one thing to limit the number of journalists for security reasons or just concerns about how much space there is in a particular place, but it's not up to the president to give the media orders about what they should cover or who they should be sending to cover it.
Well, this comes as Macron sets off on his first official trip outside of Europe. As president, he'll be visiting Mali.
That's right. His very first visit outside of France, of course, was to Germany. This is very symbolic that he would choose Mali for his second official visit outside of France, because, of course, France still has very close ties with Mali, a former colony. French soldiers are still engaged in military operations, counterterrorism operations in northern Mali. But Macron himself has always had a big interest in the African continent. In fact, he did his end-of-school internship in Nigeria. He still has a network there, according to L'Opinion. And L'Opinion actually takes a closer look at how Macron l'Africain, so Macron the African, that's how they're calling him, how is he going to incarnate a renewal of Franco-African relations, which, of course, date back quite a while. They haven't always been, let's just say they've been shady at times. And so L'Opinion wonders, how is he going to spark a renewal of relations between France and Africa? According to L'Opinion, the younger generation of politicians in Africa are going to be paying very close attention.
Well, back in Paris, Macron is facing a different kind of challenge. Angry neighbors. Security is tight on the street where he lives.
Because Macron hasn't moved into the Élysée Palace yet, so he's still crashing in his old pad. It's on Rue Claire, which is in the very chic 7th arrondissement of Paris. And ever since he was elected, security has been very tight. You can see a photo of police, how they've blocked the streets off where he lives. And neighbors say it's made their lives miserable. They have to constantly show their ID, their bags are checked. Now, it could stay that way for a while, because Brigitte Macron, rumors have it, wants to keep that apartment.
Oh, well, let's move away from politics and Macron for a moment. Papers are also focusing on the Cannes Film Festival, which kicked off on Wednesday.
And it's the 70th edition of that festival. Of course, it draws all the big wigs from the world of cinema and adoring fans. And you can see them in this cartoon in La Croix saying action to kick off the 70th festival there. Now, Nice Matin, so the local paper near Cannes, has a fun article about autograph hunters, a dedicated and well-organized gang, according to Nice Matin. You can see a photo there of stepladders because they're very well organized. They set them up near the red carpet in strategic spots with padlocks because they don't want people to steal their stepladder or their strategic spot.
Well, thank you very much, Flo Villeminot, for the latest from the papers on everything from Macron to the Cannes Film Festival. We're going to take a short break, but coming in the next half of the program, we'll have more international headlines and our focus report, taking you to India for an in-depth look at one of the measures being taken to improve the safety record of one of the largest and most dangerous railway networks in the world. Stay tuned.